Hey guys, and welcome to another Hot Lap Guide with Coach Dave Academy. It's myself, Matt Emery, with Veloce, here for another guide at the Interlagos circuit, week 3 in the Porsche Cup car. So let's jump into the Hot Lap. So let's get into the Hot Lap Guide, all the tips and tricks you're going to need for this week's Interlagos circuit in the Porsche Cup car. Now the lap you'll find, especially in qualifying, really starts from the last corner. So particularly in qualifying, I'm want to take quite a wide line way up the hill, because what that does is it gives you a bit more speed going across the start-finish line. So you'll notice if I go about here, you'll notice I'm taking a wide line towards the start-finish line. And what that does just means you can carry the extra speed. You've got that time to build up a bit more momentum into the lap. And it may only be a couple of hundredths you're going to gain, but obviously in qualifying and official races, every 100th, every 1,000 counts. So if it's there for the taking, you might as well go for it. So starting a lap here then, as I say, taking that nice wide line and across the start-finish line. Now this is a very tricky braking zone for turn 1. You're looking to brake just after there's a 100-meter board on the right. Very easy to lock your your front left going into turn 1. So it's something you're going to want to look out for. Also going to be wanting to apex quite early. You see how, give me a second, I'm not running it all the way out to the white line all the way around here. So you'll see I start to track to the middle of the track. And that's because there's a little bit of camber into turn 1 you can use, which helps to get the car in. And that's really helpful to get that turn in you're going to need. So coming down to turn 1 then, as I said, braking just after the 100-meter boards. Start to coast into the middle of the track. And you're going to want to take all of this inside curb as much as you can, as close as you can get to the grass. Just it's going to mean you can get on the throttle a bit earlier. You just want your front left tire just about, see, as I'm doing, just to the edge of the grass there. Again, as I said, you're apexing quite early as well, so you want to turn in quite early for this corner. And what that does, obviously, turn 2 leads onto the turn 3 straight. So you're going to be carrying that exit speed all the way down to turn 4. So turn 1 really sets your exit all the way down to turn 4. So very important corner to get right. And if you get it wrong, it will cost you a lot of lap time. So it's something to focus on. So I played it all for you at once. So as I said, braking after the 100 meters into turn 1, sort of looking towards the middle of the track. And as you can see, you're setting up turn 2. Now turn 2, you can get away with quite a lot of grass actually on the apex. So I'll just run it through for you now. See, I'm taking quite a lot of grass there on the apex. and the game's fine with that. You won't get an off track for that, so that's absolutely fine. And as you can see, just clipping the grass slightly, you can go just to the edge of this drain here, the drain cover, and you'll be fine. And you will find you'll gain quite a lot of lap time from that as well. So it also helps to get the car turned in. And then you're on to turn 3, which is a very long left-hander. Now, in most cars, a lot of cars, this is completely flat. It's not the case in this car. Does require a bit of a lift. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of oversteer, and you're just going to scrub lap time away. So as you can see, if you look at my throttle trace here, you'll see there's a slight lift, about 80 and 90%, just to make sure that the rear end's not stepping out too much. Obviously, the car is rear-wheel drive, so if you're on the throttle too long, the rear is going to stick out. So just a little lift here, just to help get the nose into the corner. Sort of, you want to really be slightly on this curb, because what this curb does is just drags you around the corner. If you get your your right front, so your left front into the curb, and as you see here, sort of drags you around slightly, and then you can come off the curb and just drift out and take your normal line. And I did find you don't really want to touch this curb too much, because it actually drags you off the track slightly, and that does cost you lap time. So it's all one corner really. You know, it's very important to get, if you get turn 1 wrong, you're going to pay for it all through turn 2 and turn 3. So this is what it should look like on an ideal lap. Nice, lots of curb on turn 2 as well. Nice and early on the throttle. Slight lift just to get the car into turn 3, and then you're running that all the way down to turn 4. And as I say, very important to get a good exit there. Now coming down to turn 4, just looking again, this time just before the 100-meter board. You can see it's just about up here. If I go off again. And again, here you want to turn in quite early, and it's a common theme with this track, just use the curbs as much as you can, because they don't affect your lap time. It obviously shortens the radius of the corner, and you can carry more speed through it as well. So you see I'm nearly on the grass here again. I'll play that again for you. So out to the white line on the entry, as much curb as you can, help get the car turned in. Now this exit curb is a bit of a pain in the backside. If you go slightly too wide, you'll not only get an off track, but it'll also drag you wide as well. For some reason, compared to the rest of the track, it's so strict at this corner. You can put all 4 wheels just to the white line, and you'll get an off track. So it's really strict there, so you've really got to be careful in the racing and qualifying. You don't want to invalidate your lap. But that's pretty much where you want to go. As I say, it does drag you wide as well. So on throttle, nice and early, using that curb to get the car rotated. And then you come into this flat turn 5, not really much of a corner in this car, completely flat. You can gain a bit of time if you take a bit of a later apex. So you see here, I'm turning in, just making sure the corner is nice and well rounded. So then what that allows you to do is take a shallower line on the exit, and that will just gain you another couple hundreds. As I said, with turn 1, if it's there, you might as well take it. See, I don't drift out too wide to the curb there. Now coming up the hill into you've got a double apex right-hander, which goes right the way up the hill, very steep corner. Now there was a couple of lines that I experimented with in practice when I was making the setup. And I think the best line is to brake a bit earlier, get your car right over this curb here, and what that does, it means you can take a bit of a shallower line, and you sort of keep it closer to the white line. And I found then you can get on the throttle a bit earlier up the hill, and then get over this curb as well. Because what I was originally doing was taking a lot more entry, running it more out here, and then cutting back a bit more, but I just found that lost me about half a tenth, maybe a tenth. So I would recommend using a bit of a shallower line here. This car doesn't have much downforce. It's a very heavy car. It's just best to take a shallower line sometimes, and this is one of those corners. So I'll play that through for you now. As I say, taking a lot of curb on entry, been very patient with the throttle, and then a lot of curb up the hill, which I believe is turn 7. But yeah, quite a shallow line here. Stick as close as you can to that white line, and what that does is just sets you up for this corner and carry more speed. You see I'm about 70% throttle up the hill. And then into another tricky braking zone. It doesn't look it too much, but it's slightly downhill as well. So it's very easy to lock that right front tyre. Again, what you'll find that the car naturally drifts very wide here, which is fine because the game for some reason is very, very lenient. You can go really wide here. You can see I'm on the green tarmac and completely off the track. But the game's fine with that, so you might as well use it. And what that will do is open up this next hairpin that you've got here. Also, you want to turn in quite early for this one. Just carry the speed through the corner. Now, the nature of the corner, it kind of looks like you want to take a later apex. But on the apex, and you'll see what I mean in a second, you can take a lot of curb here, and you'll get away with it. So I'll just play that through for you now. So you can see how far I am nearly on the grass, pretty much on the grass. But if you look just to the bottom of the screen here, you'll see there's this sort of, it's not concrete, I'm not sure really what it is, sort of meshing or mesh netting. And that's, the game treats that as tarmac, so you can get all over that, not a problem at all. As you can see, I've virtually got a wheel slightly on the grass. As I say, you won't get an off track for that, so that's absolutely fine to use. And obviously just shortens the corner, it's a little bit quicker. So that's something you want to make sure you're doing as well. So yeah, turn in quite early, carry the speed through the corner, shorten it as much as you can. That then leads into the next corner, which again is slightly double apex. Go in quite an early apex, and you're going to be wanting to focus on the exit here as well. Obviously downhill, not as tricky as the last corner, but still fairly tricky. And as you can see as well, what I've done, rather than now starting to track back over to the right of the circuit, I've carried the speed into the next apex. So if you see what I mean here, rather than coming over this side of the track and opening this corner up, I've carried the speed through this corner here and driven straight to the apex of this corner. And that's another thing I was experimenting a bit with in practice. I just found it's quicker, and also due to the camber of this corner as well, it's just quicker to be towards the inside here and using this curb to drag you around. So that's something to bear in mind as well. There's a lot of camber on this track, as there has been actually with the other 2 tracks we've done so far with Willow Springs and Laguna Seca. Just going to be using that to your advantage as much as you can. So as you can see here, just chucking the car in for the first apex, running slightly away from the curb. But what that does is means we can cut back and get a nice clean exit up the hill and up towards the next hairpin. So I'll play it all through for you from here. You can just see it all in one motion. So taking it nice and early, using all the curb you can, and cutting it straight to the next apex, running slightly wide mid-corner, and then cutting it back for the exit. And that leads you into the next corner, similar to the last 2, with sort of hairpins, but quite wide hairpins. And again, you don't really want to use all the track here, just because of the camber in the corner. You see, I'm not all the way out to the white line. There's still about another car's width there. And again, if you notice on the apex, there's a lot. It's not too obvious to see, but there's a bit of camber you can use on the apex. So what I found was it was best to go sort of towards the middle of the track. Do get all your braking done for the corner, and you'll see that I'm not quite alongside. I'm not quite using all the braking. I'm only using about 40%. So what you want to do is use about 50%. Always, it's easy to lock the brakes. It's like a bit of a common theme with this track. You're going to want to brake about 50% with a lot of these slow speed hairpins. Obviously, you are going to lock your front tyres. So as you can see, nice and light on the brakes, and I'm still, even at the apex, still just slightly using the brakes just to get the car rotated around the apex. And then, again, you can use this curve to rotate the car as much as you want. And again, that's the same with a lot of these curves. Are really useful to get the car rotated. On the throttle, nice and early. You can see I'm about 70%, still on the curb here. And then cutting it not too wide. You don't really want to use this curb, just as you want to be as far to the right as you can for the next corner. So you see what I mean? Out to the middle of the track, get it back across. And then slightly using this curb as well. Again, don't use too much. Sorry, not again. This is a bit slightly different. Don't use too much of this curb because it will just spit you out and you'll end up in the barrier out there. It makes the rear go very loose. And what you will find in general is that the rear end does get slightly loose through here. So you can just see on my wheel there, a slight correction there, just as the rear end was sticking out. But I did find it was slightly quicker. So yeah, just one wheel on this inside curb here, just on this darker patch. And then run it out as wide as you can. And I think everyone at this point knows that in Interlagos you can use all of this patch here. Obviously, wouldn't want to be doing that in real life because there is grass there, but you can get away with it in iRacing. So see, I'm tracking out, using all of the curb on the exit, and using all of this mesh, or whatever you want to call it. The game treats it as a curb / concrete. I'm not really sure what it is, but again, you might as well use it, and no off track for that as well. So what you're doing is just opening up this final corner, and being able to carry that exit speed and the apex speed as well. And in this car, there's a like open wheelers, for example, the F3 car. I know you can't really use this curb because it will just unsettle the car, but the Porsche doesn't mind it too much. The Cup car quite likes these sort of curbs. I can see it actually helps you get the car turned in. So a little bit of a bump there, and then you're getting on the throttle as early as you can. And yeah, obviously really important to get a good exit here. Try and focus more on the exit if you can, because you're going to be carrying that all the way up the hill to the end of the lap. So very important to get a good exit. I did find you can actually use this exit curb if you need to. If you're really struggling for grip and you want to get on the throttle a bit earlier, you can go out here and you won't lose too much time. But preferably you'd want to go about half onto this curb. So I just showed that to you in one sort of motion, so you know what it should look like. As I say, using all of the entry curb, all of the track you can, get nice onto that curb, use the curb to rotate the car, and then you want to take the shortest line of resistance up the hill. So opposite to the start of the lap, where you want to open it up as much as you can to carry the speed. You're going to want to do a mixture of both, so carrying the speed but not making the track too long, because otherwise you're just going to lose lap time. So you want to about the middle of the track, excuse me, middle of the track here, just to make sure you still carry that speed. You can also get on this curb here, which I found was slightly quicker, just as it helps rotate the car. The pit wall on the left, which you'll see in a second. And then for your qualifying laps in particular, you're just going to want to be sticking to as close as the left-hand side as you can. So you see I'm ducking right into the pit wall, getting as close as you can to it. Again, you're quite ballsy with this tyre wall here. Get as close to it as you can, and then that's a lap of Interlagos. So just show you that once more. Let's say all one fluid motion. Exit's really important. Make sure you carry that all the way up the hill. Get onto this curb. Helps rotate the car, and then stick it as far to the left as you can. Obviously in the race, you are going to want to be sticking it, taking your normal racing line and just coming into this the pit entry line, and then just carrying your normal line towards the right hand side of the track. But in qualifying, that is the line you're going to want to be taking. But I hope that was useful for you guys, and I hope there's some tips and tricks you've learnt from the hot lap guide. If there's any suggestions, anything you want me to look out for in future guides, then just give us a shout and let us know down in the comments as well. So that was another week done then in the Porsche Cup. Hope you guys enjoyed the hot lap guide for week 3 at Interlagos. Make sure you head over to coachdavacademy.com for all the latest data packs and setups, and obviously more hot lap guides like this one today. Also check out the Discord as well. Lots of useful tips in there, and on-hand advice should you need it. But yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Take care.